welcome everybody. Sorry for the sound piece. I guess it's what you call being a little bit rusty out there today. So, big shout out to all you. Hello, Big Ab, Big Drive carefully. I know it's a dangerous day, and of course, we also have the free South Orange County, right? It's kind of crazy with all this COVID stuff going on. Hopefully you guys all stayed safe and happy and healthy over the holidays and had a little bit of, tryptophan recovery for your Monday. Hopefully it's a good day. Yes, it was my issue, guys. Yeah, I just had my mic muted. Sorry about that. It happens. I'm rusty, man. I'm just old. I've got more gray hair. I'm senile. Les says hello from Cape Canaveral, Florida, which used to be the rocket capital of the world. And, the way things are going, Elon Musk may actually push that rocket launch capital to California here until we tax them, and then it all goes away. So anyway, hope you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving out there. I was coming back today thinking, what am I going to talk about? What would be fun? And obviously we can talk about markets to whatever degree you guys want. Feel free to let me know if there's anything specific you want to talk about. Obviously, Bitcoin is becoming more and more excited. Now, I thought we'd do a November to remember. And one of the reasons I thought this would be an interesting topic is if you look at the numbers posted by the markets for the month of November, they're pretty phenomenal. So I'll start there. We'll work through my normal rotation here as you can see the wonderful fall colors. Ah, yes, a November to remember. November to remember on many fronts, and I'm sure some of you are experiencing or enjoying a lot of these gains. I want to run through the numbers here for our markets. Now, I'll start probably at the top just to work our way down. I do have them in order just so we can, see the comparison here. Richard, I'm not tired at all. I'm actually excited. I really missed doing this show. It was kind of a normal day-to-day piece for me to do this show every day, even though it's, been done for free. I love it. So yeah, I'm not tired. I'm actually pretty excited. Now, I don't think it's any shock to anybody here that the number one performer is Bitcoin. We can look at the charts here if you want, but you're looking at a month-over-month gain. And this is from October 31st through November 30th. And as of close right now, you're looking at a 40% gain for Bitcoin. Absolutely phenomenal. And it's great because I posted a little thing. Actually, what I did is I actually paid to promote one of the other shows that we did a while back, which was the why Bitcoin's going to be $100,000 by 2023. And I think that if you just take a step back objectively, and whether you love crypto or hate crypto, and just look at the simple math behind Bitcoin, it makes sense why this would go. So I thought it might be good to kind of promote, pay to promote that one. Maybe it'll bring some new viewers to the program. Of course, it didn't really do that, but I thought it would be good just to people understand the basics of Bitcoin. Anyway, we saw that big sell-off happen, and then all of a sudden in one day it comes ripping right back. We are at all-time highs on Bitcoin. It's never been higher than this. It broke the highs from 2017, which is very good for any of us who are crypto holders. And of course, you're seeing that rising tide kind of float all boats. Now, Bitcoin at its peak had a market capitalization of, I think it was $850 billion. Yes, $850 billion market cap back in 2017 before it came cratering down. And you're probably thinking, well, if we're at all-time highs again, then why doesn't it have the same market cap that it did back in 2017 when it was up at those highs? The reason for that is because there are new Bitcoins being minted every day, right? It's the miners being rewarded for the block activity. So there's new coins have come out, to the tune of probably a couple million have come out since 2017, but that curve is slowing down as we speak. So that's why we're not seeing Bitcoin, even though it's at the same price as it was back in 2017, it doesn't have the same market cap because liquidity has increased with regards to the number of Bitcoins out there. All right, number two. Russell 2000, this was one of our major talking points for the month, right? It's just been a phenomenal run for Russell, but it's still only 18.8%. Now, I say only 18.8%. You guys know that's pretty damn good, especially for overall annual returns. That's just for 1 month. Pretty phenomenal return. Now, I'll keep going down the list here. Crude oil just slightly edging out the S&P at 11.61%. S&P was at 11.15%. And I'm doing this from the futures prices, guys, from the close of October 31st to the close of November 30th. NASDAQ, the loser. Of course, the FANG stock's not really helping it as much as we've seen a much more risk-on approach moving into the Russell 2000 and crypto. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You look at the results of Bitcoin, and there's a couple reasons why you're looking at this last number on gold, down for the month, 5.63%. Now that should be red. I don't know why it's green. I could have sworn I made that red, but I am colorblind, so I apologize for that. There's a couple thoughts here. Number one, when we look at the chart of gold, and I'll bring up gold futures here just so you can see it, this has been a question that's come up a lot. Should you buy gold? Should you buy gold? And you guys might remember the conversation. I've been saying no. Now's not the time to buy gold simply because the trend. It's not because I don't like gold or I don't think it's going to go higher at some point, but the trend is down. And we've talked about so much. The trend is your friend till the bend at the end. Now, we also made the point that there's a buy spot right around 1750. That little horizontal line's been on this chart for the better part of 3 weeks now, and we're getting pretty darn close. So there were certainly some questions on should you buy gold. I think if you are optimistic on gold's future, you could potentially jump in here. I would probably be selling some puts and collecting some premium to buy at lower prices. You know, that's hey Brendan, if you're celebrating on a new yacht, I want an invitation. Plus, you live in Canada, man. Where are you going to take your yacht out? On a lake? Come on, buddy. But I want an invitation to that boat party. So on this chart, you know, I think it's pretty clear that there is a spot where it would be of interest to maybe buy some gold, but there's a bigger story here, right? Traditionally, when we look at investment assets, it's been a risk-on month. And when you look at Russell 2000, 18%, S&P up 11%, NASDAQ up 8%, even though it's only up 8%, that's still a freaking phenomenal rate of return for 1 month. Now, that's risk on, right? When there's risk on, that means people are moving away from those safer assets, and historically, gold has been that. So part of the reason I think you're seeing gold continue to sell off is the equity market rally. The second part of it is, and Brendan and I talked about this on Power Trading Radio a couple of years ago when we were really peaking in Bitcoin, is Bitcoin, which many people consider to be digital gold, is that going to take away the luster of owning physical gold? And you'll always have those people. You'll always have the John O'Donnells who are like, no way, I'm going to keep gold forever. But you also have people who are now going, maybe I need to take that investment allocation. Let's say it's 10% of my long-term wealth portfolio was going to be for gold or precious metals. Let's just say it was for gold. Now what I think you're seeing is a lot of people are saying, you know what? I'm going to do maybe half of that or a third of that, I'm going to buy into Bitcoin, and diversifying that once historical safe haven of gold and move it into Bitcoin. And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing such a dramatic sell-off over the past week or so has been money moving out of gold and moving into Bitcoin. It's gaining more and more news, as Big Eb says, as Tom Barr says. Bitcoin is mentioned almost hourly on Fox Business News, so now it's mainstream. Used to be oil, treasuries, gold, and other boring stuff because it's the most popular thing. It's what people want to know about. I'm getting more and more emails every single day regarding Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I've been asked to be on a couple interviews on it as well. And, you know, I'm always happy to talk about Bitcoin, but I don't necessarily want to make this show all about crypto, right? I think this show should be more about markets overall and what are the areas where we can make money. And there's plenty of opportunity in that crypto space. I think you got to be careful. Did you guys happen to see the headline? There was a headline out there. Let me see if I can bring this one up for you. There was a court ruling where the Japanese police seized $4.2 billion worth of cryptocurrencies from, it's called Plus Token. It was a Ponzi scheme that basically they were convincing the Chinese people to buy into some algorithm software that would make them a lot more money, and they had to send in $500 worth, blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is they accumulated a lot of capital, and they did go buy assets with that to the tune of about $4.2 billion worth of cryptos. Now, there was something like, I think it was let me see real quick. It was 194,000 Bitcoin was seized. Let me just, I'll share the screen with you guys so you can see it. How do they seize it? You're thinking, Merlin, you told us that they can't seize this stuff. Well, they can't seize it from your personal, right? Unless they, torture you to get your access code or your smart key or your private keys. Here you can see what they seized. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you guys just to put it in perspective, the asset seized and how much it was. It was $3.3 billion worth of Bitcoin. This is pretty big. It's only, I forgot what the percentage was. It wasn't a huge percentage, but still it's a lot of the total circulation of Bitcoin. Is 194,000 of them. I wish I had that in my account, I'll tell you that. But they also got 833,000 Ethereum, 1.4 million Litecoin. I mean, that's a huge chunk That's actually, as far as total of the outstanding coins of Litecoin, that's a major one because you guys remember Litecoin is 4x Bitcoin, meaning if there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins, there's going to be 84 million Litecoins, and they already have 1.4 million of those in this account. That's a huge chunk. So you saw some of these cryptos fly a little bit today because, or not today, over the past few days, because of this seizure. Now, who knows what they're going to do with this? My guess is they will probably start to sell it off to liquidate some of this. But how does it get seized? This got seized because it was in a company, in a Ponzi scheme, but it's called Plus Token, where they probably threatened to put them all in prison for the rest of their lives if they don't cough up those private keys. And here they are now getting rid of it all. So that was one of the major announcements in the crypto space. They can seize things, but that's going to be some like Coinbase. That's going to be, Binance. They could potentially seize those assets of those companies. Why? Because those companies, and you could mention almost any other exchange, most of them don't want to be a shady fly-by-night crypto exchange. They want to be a mainstream, socially accepted, above-board exchange, so they're going to do things by the book. They're not hiding private keys or assets. They're doing it in accounts, and everything's tracked and monitored. So this is part of the reason that those are so susceptible, because the government can come in to Coinbase and say, we're freezing everything. So again, it begs the argument of keeping things at cold storage and in your hot wallets. All right, let's see what else we got here. Yes, the cannabis stocks, as we mentioned for the election show, probably going to do rather well, and it's been a pretty good one. All right, so that was one of the major pieces I want to bring up today. I do have some other listener questions. Again, I wanted to go through the market to start off, why it was such a good November. And, if we look at the overall historical rates of return, what do you guys think? If we go back to... I got to remember where I put these graphics. I have some graphics which I may be able to share with you. Let's see if that popped up. Yep, there it goes. Hopefully you didn't catch that one. If we go back to 1928, let's see if I can engage you guys just to see how fun it is to guess your predictions. If we go back to 1928 all the way through October 30th of 2020, so you're talking 90 plus years, almost 100 years. What do you guys think is the average return for the S&P 500 for the month of November? Now keep in mind the S&P 500 moved 11.15% this month. That's phenomenal. What do you think? Type it in the chat. I'm curious. What do you think the average return is going all the way back to 1928 for the month of November alone? We'll see how this one pans out. My guess is most of you will probably get it wrong. Remember, you're taking the average of almost 100 years. There's going to be some plus years, some minus years. For the most part, if my memory serves me correct, it's more often than not a positive number. The only month that is a negative, meaning there's more negative months than positive months, is September. Tom's the only one to respond, says 1%. Anybody else? Bueller? Big Eb, I don't want you to do it. Big Eb, what are you doing typing, buddy? You're driving. All right, here we go. So I got 2%, 5%, 8.8%. If that was the average return, remember, Christy, you're taking in the down years as well. So that would be a monstrous average rate of return. I'll tell you this. If I knew that the average rate of return was 8.8% for the month of November, on Halloween, I'm just going to back the truck up. I'm buying everything I can, and I will just dump it on December 1st. So no, it's not that high. Surprisingly, the highest average monthly return, remember, again, it's average. The highest average monthly return is for July at 1.6%. I'll share this graphic with you. I thought it was a very good one. I'll bring it up and make it full screen, blow it up for you guys. There we go. The beauty of technology. Eat your heart out, TJ. I'm kidding. All right, so here you guys can see 1.6 was for July. November is a 0.8% gain. So it's really not that big of a gain. That's why, I call this a November to remember, because it's such an outlier when you're looking at 11% gain, and it usually moves just under 1%. That's a pretty phenomenal rate of return. All right. Again, you see here that there's actually 3 months, and I think, I do believe that this might be mistaken, because I've done this many times, looked at this data a ton, and you see that February and May, it also shows are just barely negative with regards to average gains since 1928. But September, That's notable. I mean, this is one of those ones you got to pay attention to that because that's clearly the worst performing month for whatever reason. Yeah. Cool. All right. I wanted to share that one with you guys. Now let me go to Tom. You're great. Hey, we're rounding up here. Yes. Who cares? A little bit higher. Who'd have had it? All right. Let me go to this one since I'm on this topic. Very interesting question, by the way. Michelle asked me over the weekend, says, I've been holding a little gold for a few years and I'm thinking about converting some of it to Bitcoin. What are your thoughts? And again, doesn't this just go back to the argument that I just made as to why gold is selling off and Bitcoin's rallying? I think there's a lot of people just like Michelle who are in that same boat and are thinking, you know what, I've got gold. Let me just dabble a little bit, maybe just a percentage of that allocation into crypto. There's a big problem with this right now, Michelle, and anybody else thinking about this one. So let me bring up a chart of both of these instruments just so you can see. First off, here's your gold chart, right? Gold, as we know, for the month of November is the only negative one, and it's basically been negative for the past 5 months. It's not looking good right now. Not to say it's not going to come back. It could. It could certainly come back. However, you're talking about buying Bitcoin, right? And you're almost doing things backwards. So let me bring up these two charts. I'll bring up Bitcoin on this one at the bottom. I'll copy this for you guys. I'll make a separate window on the top. Sorry, Big Eb, I know it might be hard for you to see if you're just listening to the podcast. And so at the bottom, I've got Bitcoin's chart, and at the top, I'm going to put at GC. So we'll put gold at the top. This is the problem that Michelle is going to have is the value of gold that she owns has been dropping steadily since August. Yet Bitcoin has been on an absolute tear. So to me, this is more a question of market timing. You know, do you wait for a pullback in Bitcoin, which I think that train may have left the station yesterday. You know, I think your Friday action on Bitcoin was it. I think you're going to see this just continue to move on up as your gold continues to drop. So every day, the value of your gold gets lower and lower. Bitcoin's getting higher and higher, meaning you can buy less Bitcoin. So I think you're in a bit of a conundrum here, right? What do you do? I'm curious, what do you guys think that Michelle should do here? You know, you can make the argument that, gold's undervalued right now. You might want to just hold it, but then you miss out on the boat on any Bitcoin rally. Of course, the flip side of that is look how much Bitcoin has rallied since October. I mean, we could... we talked about the 40% month of rate of return for November, but if we go to the last 2 months, it's up 76% in 60 days. You know, it's really it's a tough spot, Michelle. I don't know what I would do here. I think I would probably, if you really want to just get into Bitcoin and play with Bitcoin, I would sell off a little bit of my gold. But you know, you're already almost $3,000 off, or sorry, $300 off the ATH on gold here. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough one. I tried to actually create a ratio chart here for you to show the percentage decline against one of them. Chase Bitcoin, nothing can go wrong. Yeah, right, Jimmy. Jimmy, you must be long Bitcoin. I wouldn't say to do that. I mean, I think that over the long haul, over the long term, your rate of return on Bitcoin is going to be far superior than it would be with gold, just because of the sheer supply and demand aspects of it. I think that Bitcoin in the long haul is going to have a far greater, you could easily see right now, let's just round up and call it $20,000 on Bitcoin. You could easily see by the end of 2023, as I mentioned, Bitcoin at 100,000. Well, that's a 5x from here. I don't think you're going to see gold at 10,000 by 2023. I don't see that. There you go. Hi, could you please tell me what time the futures market's open? Well, I mean, there's only a 1 hour window that they break, and let me keep going on here, and I'll show you on a chart where they break. Let's go. We've got Bitcoin futures. Let's go ADS. Anytime you wonder where something closes, there's a real simple way to do it. You could just bring up any chart you want. So here I've got the ES. Make a 5 minute. And you'll run across the bottom, and you'll usually see like a little break in the action. That break in the action here let's go back to where it's open, because we're just about there. There's your overnight rollover for Sunday, and we'll go to right here. So there's your an example of a gap up on the ES. I don't know why the time looks so odd right here. There really shouldn't be the jump there. Normally, there's a gap right around 10. Okay, So this is the weekend piece. I'm sorry, one sec. Go back a little further, and you'll see this vertical line. So the vertical line usually is representing a session break, and that's where things will close. And then, close for, depending on which futures market, and normally they're going to be 15, 30 minutes or an hour, depending on the commodity. So that's your gaps. Somebody trying to start charting the gold to Bitcoin ratio. You know what? There is. I actually have seen that one before, Brendan, and I will bring that up for you guys. I was going to try to make it myself, but then I realized all these people have created stuff on their own that would be much easier for me just to use and give them attribution. So let's go to Bitcoin to gold. You asked for it? Lordy, here it is. So here is your ratio of Bitcoin to gold. Now this goes through November 27th. The weighted value of Bitcoin in grams of gold. So there's your chart of Bitcoin in blue. And then down here is the USD. Kind of hard to read. Bitcoin price of grams of gold. Hell, I have to take more time to figure out what the heck is going on with this chart here because there's lines all over the place. But you can see the value of the Bitcoin there. I think that what you're saying is now it would take about 200,000 grams of gold to buy one Bitcoin. I don't know if that's right. I don't know. But anyway, this chart here, it's called Priced in Gold, and they do it for everything. You guys can see all the different markets on the side. You got copper, cotton, crude oil, gold, food, Ethereum, so you can price them against each other. There you go. Anyway, just wanted to show you that one. You can dive into it and figure out all the numbers you want. It's a little bit confusing for me to read right now. All right, other listener questions. This is one we've been talking a lot about, which is the EV space, and certainly looking at Tesla. Right? Tesla just gone gangbusters lately. Today was a pretty ugly day for Tesla. But also the one that I was talking a while back on that I said, look, this thing is a good short. There's no way it's going to stay up here at $60, and I bet be down by below $30. It ended up getting crushed again today. This is from Tim. He says, I got hit hard today on Nikola news. What would you do if you had a big loser on it right now? Well, this is another one where you're in a really, really tough spot. So let's go to NKLA. And go to the daily. All right. Now the news, for those who might not know, is that GM basically saying, you know what, we're not gonna buy a stake in the company. We're not gonna jump in there. And you could kind of expect that with the way that they were looking at the Hummer and really pushing. Part of me thinks that this is a really sleazy, slimy, shady thing on the part of GM. And I don't know any of the inner workings. I'm sure that some of the others in here do. But my guess is they probably went to the factory, went through all the numbers, everything about the production of the electric vehicle at Nikola, and then went back and debated it, said, well, do we really need them? Or since we now know most of it, can we just go and do it on our own? My guess is that's probably what happened. And it's a bummer because their truck, the Badger, the Nikola truck, looked pretty cool. I like that truck. However, here's the chart of Nikola. You can see that we had that price point up over $90 back in June of this year. Back when it was down around 70, I kept saying, look, it's going to get below 30. Just when people can start to sell their shares and take money off the table, it makes sense. Today, you get the big drop down on the news that GM is backing away from their deal. Now, the challenge here is, are they going to make it, right? When you're struggling automaker to start and you lose major money of someone who's going to really help your business go forward, it makes me question, do they even have a chance to make it? I don't know. That is probably close to what GM did. It's not sleazy. Well, here's why I call it sleazy. And I can say this one. So here's why I call it sleazy. Years ago, there was a company run by somebody who I think is probably, and this is a personal opinion, one of the shadiest people in the financial industry, the entire financial world. You can go and pull him up, and he's got lawsuits against him. Of course, anybody does anything to him, he threatens them with a lawsuit just to make the issue go away. He worked for a company called Pristine, which is another educator in the space. There were years ago when an online trading academy was starting up, Pristine came over and we were going to partner up with them and merge and do some good stuff. They came through and basically walked through operations and content and delivery and all this stuff and how we're doing it. They went back home and said, we're not interested. And then all of a sudden, about a week or two later, they were doing everything that we were doing practice-wise. And to me, that was kind of shady and sleazy. It could be what GM is doing. Who knows? Bottom line is it's business, right? It's just business. And I think that the novelty of Nikola the fanfare that was going along was great. I think GM kind of enjoyed that. Thought, okay, this could be something good. But they probably looked at the numbers and said, these guys are a long way away from actually bringing this to market, and without us, they can't do it. So we'll just do our own thing. So the question for Tim is, what do you do here? I'm curious, what would you guys do? Anybody? My feeling on this one, Tim, if I had to, I would probably, I would probably bail on it. I just don't see a white knight showing up right now that GM backed away and is doing their own thing. Who's going to step in? Toyota? You need another major brand to come here and back them up, to support them. And I just don't see that knight in shining armor coming anytime soon for Nikola. There's too many other companies popping up, which I think could do much better than Nikola. So Nikola, as popular as it was, will probably fizzle away. So my guess would be just to unload those shares and move on to something else. All right. Cool. That's what I had planned for today. That's what I had prepped. Let me know what questions you guys have. That was the one on Nikola there. I don't have any other set questions that came in over the weekend. There was some stuff on cryptos, but I don't know if I necessarily want to get into crypto any deeper right now. But what are your thoughts on that? I see Jerry saying it's not who comes up with the idea, but who runs with the idea. Right, and that's where GM already had the factory, the facility, the infrastructure. I think they needed a little know-how maybe on the technology. But let's face it, GM's going to hire the top technology people out there and probably, pull off the Hummer EV in no time. And I'm interested to see that one. That looked pretty darn cool. Yes. Thank you. Tom says, please take a look at Zoom. Earnings were announced. Okay. Now, you guys know I'm not the fundamental guy, so me pulling up the numbers on their earnings really is not going to do me any good because I just don't really care for fundamentals. Maybe I'll have Colin Teddards come back on and do the Zoom. However, let's check out Zoom, which I actually was really debating shorting it before the market today. I was kind of hoping, before market closed today, because I was anticipating their earnings not looking so good. Now, their earnings actually came out okay. I'll bring up the numbers here. I actually had it briefly, so let me make sure I get those numbers for you. They beat earnings expectations. It wasn't a monster beat by any stretch of the imagination. I will share that with you guys over here. We can go to a variety of different earnings sites, and here is Zoom. All right, let me go back one here, and I'll share that with you guys. So here is the earnings for today. I'm just using Zacks right now, or you can use a bunch of different sites. But you see here, there's Zoom. They're expected to make 75 cents. They came out at 99 cents. So a pretty decent beat. I didn't hear what they said at their press conference pertaining to new subscribers or anything like that. But I do feel like you'll probably, if I take the time, my guess is you're going to see those numbers declining. Now, here's Zoom before the market closed. Looked great. It was actually ripped up towards that $500 mark, which we identified a couple weeks ago as another potential short point if you're looking at buying some puts, as I am. But I may have missed that boat. I'll go to the 5-minute here. And there it is. We'll show you the earnings announcement in 24 hours. Boom. So it was interesting. When it closed, let's go to the exact closing time. All right, when it closed at, I'm going to call it 480. In the next 5 minutes, it fell all the way down to a low of 428. So it fell $52 per share, a pretty significant drop. Right now, it's down 3.73% at 545. Not too bad. But again, I think that this is a case of Microsoft Teams, of Google Rooms, and other companies having way deeper pockets going to come in here and just push these guys straight out of the picture. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I'll put a line on the chart right now so we can go back to today's chart. I'm going to put two lines. One is where it's trading at right now. The other is going to be at the low of 428. I always love doing this, guys, because it's a way to see, are we coming back into areas of demand that I might be an interested buyer at? Unfortunately, there really weren't any great demand zones. The best one on here is where it turned from its dead low at 428. You guys see there's kind of a little gap up there the next day, which technically would be an unfilled gap. What else do we have? You want to see the CRM? Now, CRM is earnings tomorrow. So I'll bring up CRM for you, absolutely. Here's CRM. Again, this looks similar to that Home Depot chart that we looked at. It's really just been bouncing between this 230 and 270 mark. And today, a great hammer formation. Didn't really hit any demand zones. I think you guys can see that there. Didn't really come into the demand zone, but any depth. For me to get to that demand zone, I have to go all the way down to 235. We hit a low on CRM today of 236. So $1 short. It would have been an almost long trade there, but didn't quite make it. Look, CRM, I'm not that interested in. I mean, I need something that either has a nice trend going. And this one, as you can see, I'll throw some drawing tools on here. You're looking at just sideways range bound. And there's plenty of opportunity in here, but at 246, it's kind of in the middle, near the lower end. So now I'm not really that interested in it. And knowing that they come out with earnings tomorrow, let's just validate that and be sure. I'm 99% sure they have earnings tomorrow. And we'll show you that one. December 1st. So yeah, CRM is aftermarket close tomorrow, as well as NTAP, Momo, Viva, Hewlett Packard, and a couple of others. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it warrants trading it. There are some tactics out there, Raj, where you could say, hey, I'm going to sell some puts deep out of the money up here at, what's that high? At 270, or maybe I'll sell some puts here at 228, or buy some calls up at that higher level. It really depends on what your strategy or tactics are, but there's no real clear demand zone right now, no real clear supply other than just reversing sideways. So unless you're playing that range, it's not that exciting. And remember, they have earnings tomorrow after close, which to me could be very, very dangerous. Earnings are obviously very unpredictable. Even if they beat, you saw the beat on Zoom today, and they still got crushed. Adam says Zoom is overpriced and the pandemic is diminishing. Well, I agree with you on 50% of that, Adam. I think that Zoom is way overpriced, and more importantly, it's the competition that I'm worried about, right? You woke up Behemoth and Google and Microsoft saying, hey, we can do this in a matter of seconds. The thing I disagree with you on is that the pandemic is diminishing. I don't know where you're at, but things are going into weird lockdown mode out here. My team, the victorious San Francisco 49ers over the crappy Los Angeles Rams, we were told that we can't even go back to our home stadium in Santa Clara. You can't go back to the stadium that even though you've been abiding by all the protocols of COVID and all the testing, they can't even go in there and practice. So kind of a weird thing to see this going on, but we're going into lockdown all over the place. And I know that California is not the worst, but we've got, Gavin Newsom, who will just, throw us in even further lockdowns. And who knows what the implications are for our markets going forward there and how difficult that's going to be for businesses. That said, tomorrow is a very, very, very important day. Now, it's not just tomorrow. It's going to be Tuesday and Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. So 30 minutes in the market open. You guys all need to be paying attention to the market at that moment in time. Be extremely careful because Jerome Powell, will be testifying about the CARES Act. And you might not cares about the CARES Act, but you should because it's the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, which was signed by President Trump back in March for $2+ trillion worth of stimulus. Ooh, stimulus. We all want some stimulus, right? Well, we're kind of hearing this gridlock with our politicians, not wanting to do stimulus, wanting to do it, who knows. If the forecast is that states like California, Texas, New York, and others are going to go into a full-on lockdown again, that might put some pressure on Powell at this testimony to say, look, if you guys don't continue on CARES, we'll do what we can to help support the markets. And I think what will happen is going to put a lot of pressure on the politicians to pass some sort of extension of the CARES Act. Who knows, maybe we get another $1 trillion or $2 trillion out of this thing. If that happens, what's going to go on with the market? You're looking at just another straight up move if we get a big amount of capital put into these markets. Because let's be honest, the earnings numbers haven't been that great. Most of this, it's declining. Economic data hasn't been that great. Yet markets are all-time highs and surging stronger than ever. Why? Because they put in nearly $7 trillion worth of capital in the equity markets, and any new catalyst will just boost it even further. Again, that's going to be Powell testifying for the CARES Act. That's tomorrow and the next day, which I guess goes to my earnings and economic calendar, which I could probably just go into now. Let me share that with you guys. Here is the calendar for December 1st. It's so weird to think we are already in December. It's just crazy how fast this year has gone by. Brendan says, Jay Powell, go printers. It will. Big Ab, he's testifying tomorrow. Let me make sure. Yes, he's testifying tomorrow. You see right here, 7 a.m., Powell will be testifying. But it's 2 days of testimony, guys. Tuesday, he will be literally reading a pre-written document. Quote for quote, just no, I'm reading what they told me to read. I am a robot. What's more interesting is the comments after, because it's going to be some unscripted stuff. And my guess is there'll be a lot of questions from the politicians about how stable they think the financial system is, how stable they think the economy is, what's the forecast for different metrics and numbers. And I'm pretty sure Powell's going to paint a relatively gloomy picture, knowing that so many states are going into another major lockdown. They're seeing the highest spikes of COVID since March. Well, that's a little bit scary out there. And I think that you'll probably get pressure from Powell at this testimony, which might goose the market. That said, be careful, because it could be very volatile. It's one of those ones where you kind of have to be very careful trading, because one word out of this guy's mouth could cause things to rip up or down. If Powell comes out and says, the economy's doing good, markets are all-time highs, we don't think there's a need for any stimulus right now, what do you think's going to happen? It's going to plummet. No more stimulus, no more drugs for the drug addict, which, again, the markets are drug addicts for stimulus at this point. If that stimulus goes away, the markets are going to tank a bit. So be careful out there tomorrow and the next day. Janet Yellen as Treasury. Here goes negative rates. Possibly. We'll have to wait and see, Batista. Right now, I don't think we're in that dire need of going negative rates, and we're seeing rates actually rise fairly quickly. If they do, here's the conundrum. If you go negative rates, what you're doing is you're punishing savers. So for anybody who keeps money in a savings or checking account, you're saying you have to pay to keep it there. They're really trying to force people to take that money out and then buy stuff with it, invest in the markets, which you should not do. You need to be careful and have a nest egg to save your money. But you have to find creative ways of taking money out of that system and moving it into an area that will make you more money, which is one of the reasons I'm so big on cryptocurrency, because they can't really manipulate those rates. I don't think we'll go negative yet. We'll have to see what happens with Powell's meetings tomorrow and on Wednesday. After that, anything is possible. I wouldn't rule it out, but right now I think that Janet Yellen, I like her as an appointment to Treasury Secretary. I don't see any problem with that, but plus I love just seeing her interview. She's always, he's like so mousy and very monotone, doesn't really say much. But anyway, she's good. Why do I think Bitcoin is ripping? Yes, it is one of the only ways to escape the Fed trap. Well, that's true. It's one of the only ways to escape the Fed trap. Plus, it is increasing demand chasing a perfectly finite resource, and there's not that much out there. So that's why you're seeing a rip. All right, so that was your economic calendar for tomorrow. Now, that's not all about the U.S. As you can see here, we've got Powell testifying, but also at 7 a.m., guys, Pacific time, you've got construction spending, ISM manufacturing PMI, and services PMI. So a lot of important numbers happening. Plus, there's manufacturing numbers coming out for pretty much all of Europe. Also, the UK having a final manufacturing PMI. And then down here near the bottom, you see Australia coming out with the GDP number, which I think is a pretty important one as well. Now, we've already looked at this, but tomorrow, here's what's happening with earnings. Not really that exciting. You have Salesforce, Viva Systems, and NetApp. The only two earnings announcements that I'm that excited about this week are Zoom, which just came out, and the second one will be Snow, which reports earnings on Wednesday afternoon. All right. Perfect. Wow, it's shorter and shorter. I'm trying to read through some of the chats here. You guys, I just want to make sure I get to all your questions. There was a one Bitcoin that I was going to pay. Well, I tell you what, if I'm China, you just got a nice capital infusion of $4 billion to do whatever you want with. That's phenomenal. And of course, I don't know exactly how their system works, but you would think, in theory, some of that money would go back to pay the investors who felt wronged in this Ponzi scheme. Who knows if that really happens. All right, you guys got any last minute questions for me? I'm wrapping it up here. We got a 40-minute show, not quite the hour. I didn't want Big Eb to crash, so I want to make sure he's driving safely. That's why I'm going to try to end the show earlier. But any last minute questions or charts you guys want me to analyze? I can spend a few minutes going over some of that stuff. If not, I'll wrap it up. I don't have any guests scheduled for this week. I am going to have, I think Tilly Allison will probably be on Wednesday. She was sick over the weekend. That's why we didn't get a market outlook for Tilly this week. Sorry about that, guys, but she's wasn't feeling so good. Tom says, I'm now hearing about whales buy Bitcoin. Care to explain? Well, look, whales are just the big guys buying Bitcoin, right? I think at this point, there was talk about whales selling Bitcoin, right, which is locking in profit. But the more that this gains more mainstream attention, those whales don't want to sell. And why not? The Hunt brothers cornered silver. I think that was the 1980s, right? I think that's a similar situation. The more that you can corner Bitcoin, and I know it sounds like a scam, and you're basically buying up a finite resource. Well, the Hunt brothers cornered silver and caused silver to go spiking through the roof because everybody else heard that they were cornering the market, buying silver, and drove those prices up, and now everybody's left paying a much higher price. And if you think about it, isn't that kind of what's happening with Bitcoin? You have people who are buying it and not selling it. There's no way I'm going to corner the market in Bitcoin, but I'm not selling. I have zero interest in selling Bitcoin. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to buy my Bitcoin from me, you give me $100,000, I'll sell it to you. Anybody want to take that offer? You might want to wait a few years, but $100,000 is a nice price point where I'd be happy to sell out of my Bitcoin. There's a lot of people like me. Brendan will probably be nodding to himself right now saying, I'm not getting out at any price right now. Why? Because we've broken down the numbers. And I think whales are doing the same thing. Whales are just somebody who has a ton of money, a very wealthy individual. Historically in the crypto space, whales were just those that started off early and accumulated a lot, right? So your miners back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, people who maybe spent $20,000 and bought it when it was, a couple of dollars, those are your whales. Now I think whales, the term may have changed a little bit to just what we would call institutional holders, right? At Online Trading Academy, part of the strategy is look for supply and demand. And where are the institutions going to push things up or push it down? Well, a whale is somewhat similar in the crypto space. Historically, I think institutions and whales are going to end up being the same thing. They're just calling the institution a whale in the crypto space. That's how I would look at it. Brendan says he wouldn't sell for $100,000. I would sell because I know it's going to rally up to $100,000 and come back down. But yeah, I would buy back in when it dropped to 50 or 70. Good. I'm with you too. The Bitcoin would be the last one that I sell. So, Big Ed, did that... Tom, did that help a little bit? I mean, I think that the whale was just a big retail holder. Somebody who started in the crypto space as a miner. But I think that term is going to evolve, and a whale will be the exact same as an institution. We'll look at it the same way. It's that big person who's driving price up or down. Remember, the unique thing here is you have such a small amount of Bitcoin available that any real purchase drives it up significantly. Locked away, won't touch it for years. Good, Big Eb. I hope you don't. We'll be having an unveiling party on December 31st, 2023, when I think we'll be well past the $100,000 mark. Well, thank you, Tom. No, it's a good point. Somebody asked me years ago, does supply and demand work on cryptocurrency like it does for the equity markets or futures or forex? And I don't think that I think there is some validity to the psychology of numbers, but I don't think that you're literally looking and saying, okay, well, where's Goldman buying Bitcoin? No, he's not. It's going to be somebody else who can still potentially move it, but I don't think they all follow the same logic. And if you know how an institutional trader works, there's patterns. They're doing things all the time over and over again because they're taught to do it this way. Retail people are very different in the way that they act. I think what will probably happen is you'll start to see more movement on major political announcements because these big buyers are probably people who are starting to connect themselves more with politicians and the legalization efforts of cryptocurrency. And they'll know about these announcements and get in or out of their positions before these major announcements. If whales started transferring to exchanges, then you get concerned that's not happening. Correct. They're cold wallet storage stuff. Look, anybody who really understands the crypto space realizes that the exchanges are a necessary evil. It's the gateway for the retail trader to convert from dollars to a crypto. As soon as you get your dollars into a crypto, you pull it off that exchange because you saw what happened to several exchanges. They get hacked or they get seized or shut down by the government and you don't have access to your capital. So convert from your native currency into the crypto that you want and then get it off that exchange, put it in cold storage, and you'll do much better. All right. Let's see. If whales started transferring, yes, you'd get concerned. Whales won't transfer to exchanges. They'll find other ways to pull out of the market. There's a way for these big guys. So, for example, if I'm Goldman Sachs, I'm probably not going to the open market to buy Bitcoin. I can buy them from individuals or the exchange itself, right? I might be able to go to Coinbase and say, hey, I'll buy 50,000 Bitcoin from you right now in one big block transaction and do it through that exchange. They'll buy it from the exchange without really setting up accounts, or they can do it through private people. Find the whale, who the whale is, and buy it from them. Mike LaRusso, this is a good question. So I got an alert. Mike says, is the Bitcoin ETF GBTC a good alternative to buying Bitcoins? The answer is no, it's not. It is an alternative if you don't have access to a Binance or a Coinbase account. I would definitely start there. Now, let me show you a chart that I created. Sorry, I'm staring at multiple screens. I'll show you this chart that I created at TradingView, and basically, it shows you if this is undervalued or overvalued. GBTC, you're almost always paying a premium. And while it's an easy way, as Big Eb says, it's a way to get started, it is, absolutely. Because you don't have to open another account. You can simply have a stock trading account at any exchange and be able to buy GBTC. What was interesting is I was actually alerted this weekend. You guys can see this big jump up here. If it's any point above this horizontal blue line, that means that you're paying a discount. A discount if you buy GBTC. If it's anywhere below this blue line, that means you're paying a premium to own GBTC. And look at how much it moved. Yesterday, it actually was pretty much break even. It ended the day at you're paying a premium of about $650 per Bitcoin. So if you bought GBTC, you'd be paying $650 more than the actual market was offering. You're paying a premium. But look at it today. It's $3,700 more. So if you were to buy GBTC, you're paying a substantial premium right now. So I would create a chart like this personally if you're looking at trading GBTC, and I would use it as a timing vehicle. And anytime GBTC got up to, let's say, negative, $800 or $400, I would look to be a buyer of GBTC. Anytime it rallied to these real extremes like it is here right now, I'd be actually looking at selling my GBTC and waiting for it to drop back down and buy back in. So you can play these swings in the price of GBTC against Bitcoin. But it's not. I think it's an ETF. It's just a trust that physically holds the Bitcoin. So it's a way to get started. But personally, you guys all know my attitude. Go and buy real Bitcoin. Go and buy the legit stuff. Okay. Let's see. Can you please share? I am sharing the chart. Oh, you mean the code? If you go to TradingView.com, let's see if I can type it in here. I'll make it real easy for you guys. I'll try to put it on the screen. If you type this into TradingView, it's BTC/USD minus GBTC times 1,000. Oops. Okay, that is, I could probably use all caps here too to really help you guys out. BTC USD, and then you go GBTC. So if you type that into TradingView, it'll bring up this kind of weird looking chart. And it's just kind of, it's almost like a spread chart. Okay, I think you guys can see that down at the bottom. It says that's what you would type in this field up here. You go to your watch list in the upper right hand corner if you're using TradingView. You click this button and you just type it in. Right? You go GB, whatever I was. Anyway, hopefully that helped you guys. See if I can make it even bigger for you. Can I edit this thing? All right. Well, I'm not letting me edit. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, Tom, it's yeah, but you wouldn't do the OTC. You wouldn't do the OTC colon. You could just go BTC USD minus GBTC times 1,000. That brings up. Yours may work as well, but that's not the way I have it put in. Anyway, all right. That will do it for everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. I'm very happy to be back. I may look tired. Somebody said I look tired out there. I know I'm wearing it's the fish pictures in the background. I'm feeling the love for Fish this week. They released a new album, and I yet to listen to that one. I'll probably put that on right after the show. Anyway, do me a favor. You guys can help me out with tomorrow's show. not only do I want you to hit the like button right now, which would be great, but also if you have something you want me to talk about on tomorrow's show, sometimes I run out of topics and ideas. If you have questions, items you want covered, go to TraderMerlin at gmail.com or go to TraderMerlin.com and send in those questions. Or the easiest way, just put them down below the video on this video. But let me rewind there. Just put them down below this YouTube video, and I'll get to all those questions. That's going to do it for me, everybody. Be careful out there with Mr. Powell in the morning. That opening hour and a half to 2 hours of the market could be a wild one out there. I hope you all fare well, and I will see you on tomorrow's show. Take care.